week with videos. So this week I've been driving the 2022 Lexus Rcf Fuji Speedway Edition, which is a very rare one of only 50 vehicles made for this year in this Fuji Speedway Edition. This is number 49 if you're curious. Obviously it's a very special experience, a very exciting car to drive. I've already covered the Rcf extensively. I did a review on a regular one. I spent a week with that. I also already covered the Rcf Track Edition, which is essentially the same as this. They changed the Track Edition from 2020 into the Fuji Speedway Edition in 2021, and it continues on here for 2022. Last year they did 60 of these. This year it's 50, so they're getting rarer and rarer, and I think the cell is getting a little tougher, and that's part of also why the numbers are slowly, getting smaller and smaller. But I mean, this thing does have a crazy high price tag. This one as tested is over $106,000, and I'll get more into that in a minute. But price aside, it's still such a special experience having this 5-liter V8 engine, having just the extra lightweightness you have here with the Track Edition and now the Fuji Speedway Edition, where it's lost over 180 pounds over a regular RCF. Plus the more hardcore experience that comes with this Track Edition and the Fuji Speedways, it's got a stiffer adaptive suspension, and I'm in the Sport Plus mode here, going around the corners I always take. Let's see how this thing handles. And it really handles like it's on rails. It is so nice and tight with the handling here. And so yeah, these are just over 3,800 pounds the way they're set up here for the Fuji Speedway Edition. And man, I mean, everything is so precise too. You have carbon ceramic brakes, these forged 19-inch wheels. The whole thing, it just feels so track ready. I mean, it really is a stiffer ride. Now, I already have been daily driving this vehicle for a whole week. I've put almost 190 miles on it here, and it certainly is a little bit firmer than a regular RCF. I don't know if it'd be my pick for a daily driver, obviously, but this is tuned for the track and for just more spirited driving. And in that regard, it really does live up to that Track Edition name that it originally had, now the Fuji Speedway name, and that racetrack. And one thing though I will say is that the grip has been surprisingly a little less than I was expecting. So these run Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. They're 255s in the front, 275s in the rear. And the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S is a great tire. I have it on my own personal Mustang Bullet, same tire sizes actually as my Mustang Bullet. But surprisingly in this, it is a lot more tail happy than my Bullet and most other vehicles I've tested with Pilot Sport 4s in this amount of power. But I mean, because it was raining for a few of the days I was driving this vehicle, and man, this thing likes to kick the back end out. It's a lot of fun, but it's just, when you're looking at something and something has the Track Edition label and they're so focused on that track component with this, version, it's kind of surprising that it didn't have more grip to it. And so, I mean, I'm not pushing this at 10/10ths, and, if you plan to take one of these to the track, I'm sure you'll be upgrading the tires to, Cup 2s or something that's a little bit grippier anyway. But it's just worth noting that as the way this comes from the factory, it's just a little bit, less impressive on the grip department than I was expecting it to be. But aside from that, I mean, this thing still is a blast. It's 5-liter naturally aspirated V8. It's 472 horsepower, 395 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 time of 3.96 seconds according to Lexus's claim. So 4 seconds 0 to 60. Very, very impressive. It even has a launch mode and all that. But one other thing too that kind of is a little upsetting about these is, they're really sporty with these F models, but the 8-speed automatic still is a little slow to react typically. So we'll do a few downshifts here. And I mean, it's not bad, but it's not dual clutch fast or even, competing with the ZF 8-speed you get in the Super, for example. But oh, I mean, you listen to that and it sounds so nice. I love this engine. I'm so happy that it's, still sticking around here, at least for the time being, and not only this, but the IS 500, the LC 500. It's just such an amazing motor, and I'm so glad that we have it in so many different, packages here. But yeah, I mean, it all feels really nice, and again, I already spent a week with one of these. If you want more details on what an RCF is like for a week, and also, what the Track Edition's like with more details, you can certainly go and watch that video. But I mean, it handles great. They swapped out the torque vectoring rear diff. You get a regular RCF for a Torsen limited slip differential instead. And, I mean, both handled very, very well as far as, putting the power down. But, both of them are still very tail happy either way you go. So no big changes there, in my opinion, from the driver's seat here on normal back rows. But, of course, it just handles like it's on rails. thing is, it never gets old to do that acceleration. Even though, you know, it's less than 500 horsepower and it doesn't sound like it's, you know, anything crazy, it really is such a gem of an engine. I absolutely love it. But one other thing that's also fairly impressive about this engine is even though it has a 7,300 RPM redline, and even though it's, you know, pretty high strung and loves to be rubbed out and stuff, over my week of driving here, 190 miles basically, I've been averaging 17.7 mpg, so almost 18. Now, I didn't do the same type of driving I typically do in my week with vehicles. You know, typically I'm doing mostly around town stop and go type of stuff, suburban backroads driving. This was actually, most of the miles were put during a little time distance rally that I did just through the countryside on a relaxed Sunday afternoon. And so it was a lot of just driving on back roads at a spirited pace at times, but also kind of slow at other times. And so, but I'm just impressed because these things are rated at 16 mpg in the city, 24 on the highway, and 19 combined. So I'm getting almost, you know, just 1 mpg basically off of that combined figure. And I did do a little bit of highway driving, but not much. So I'm actually, you know, pleasantly surprised that I'm, you know, even getting as good a fuel economy as I am, honestly. But one other thing I got to comment on too is while I was doing, you know, all these backwards drives in the countryside and stuff, I stopped a couple of times, and it's so funny the amount of looks and the amount of comments that this car gets. I mean, obviously it's very bold. It's a combination of, you know, it's very racy looking with all the carbon fiber. You know, you have a carbon fiber hood, carbon fiber roof, and the huge rear wing that's carbon fiber here. And that is all exclusive to the Fuji Speedway edition. You can get a carbon fiber roof and a few other carbon fiber accents with a carbon fiber package on a regular RCF, but the hood and the huge rear spoiler are only here for the Fuji Speedway and the Track Editions. So is that, but also this electric surge color. It's a semi-matte paint color, and it's kind of interesting because they say you can actually still run it through an automatic car wash, so it has that durability, but you still get, you know, kind of this satiny appearance to the paint. And man, it got so many comments. So many people stopped and like had to comment on it, and it was just so funny. But this car in general, just it got so many comments, and a lot of people just absolutely loved it. They thought it was so cool. But yeah, and this thing, it's so funny though how it really is. It would be a handful on track. I would love to actually try one of these on a racetrack. I haven't done that yet. I'd love to try one of these and see, you know, how it actually does do on a track. But I feel like it'd be a handful in a fun and enjoyable way. But I think it would definitely be a little bit more work than, you know, something that'll just easily, you know, carve up a back road. This definitely, you know, requires a little bit of extra judgment and you know, a little bit of extra skill to wield this weapon. And also, one thing I really love about this is the steering. The steering actually has some like feeling to it and some weight. It kind of feels a little old school compared to some of the other steering racks you get in more modern vehicles these days that are a little more isolated. This I felt more through the wheel, and that's probably just part of the fact this is just, you know, a pretty old vehicle at this point. But that is one area where that age actually, I think, helps it to feel a little more analog than some of its competitors. But yeah, so it goes without saying that this is a very special, very exciting, very fun experience. But at its $106,725 price tag, it better be an exciting and amazing experience. And so, you know, again, they're only making 50 of these, so I mean, I'm sure they're already sold out, or, you know, whatever. It's not like Lexus is trying to go for volume or value. So the whole pricing argument here is probably a waste of time. But, you know, obviously I could list out dozens of sports cars you can get for the same or less money, or much less money in many cases, that are faster, that are, you know, more performance oriented, that, you know, put up better numbers in basically every way. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, this is a little bit of a dated setup, and, you know, they stuck with the V8, and some people will appreciate that, but it just means that, you know, it's not even as fast as like the new Supra from within Toyota, that's again much less expensive, has less horsepower, but, you know, will absolutely just demolish this thing as far as 0 to 60 and quarter mile runs and stuff like that goes. And that also, I think, has better handling in some ways, being smaller, lighter, lower, and so it's just a little bit of a tough sell. And, you know, okay, so if you want something from Lexus, you want something that's 100%, you know, engineered by Toyota or Lexus, you know, I can see the appeal of the RCF here for sure, because it still does have that, which the Supra doesn't. But, you know, even if you're going to stick with the Lexus brand and you're just a big fan of the brand and you want to have, you know, something with this V8, I still personally think that it's, for the exact same money, actually a couple grand less comparably equipped, you get an LC500. Just get an LC500. I mean, that's what I would do, because it looks way more exotic. You have a much nicer interior in that LC500. You know, you have the same great engine. You can still get a dynamic handling package, which has like the Torsen limited slip diff and a bunch of other stuff to, you know, make it handle very similarly to this. I just think that, yes, this is special, but I think that the LC500 adds that specialness by having the exotic looks that are still just drop dead gorgeous. Plus, you have a little bit of extra comfort in the LC500 that you don't get here in this. Now, it'll of course come down to personal preference and all that, but, you know, just if it were me, you know, between the two, I think it's an easy pick. I would go for an LC500, even if I was gonna, you know, plan on spending, you know, $100,000 for something with less than 500 horsepower, you know, from Lexus. I love the LC500. I spent a week with a convertible and with a coupe. It is fantastic, and so I think for my money, that's what I would go with. But even still, you know, I think that this is, you know, an incredibly awesome, special, exciting experience. That motor will never get old. I'm so glad that Lexus continues to keep this motor around as long as possible here. But also, if you want, you know, a great daily driver with this engine, you need a little more practicality. You know, I certainly say that you go for the IS500, which I spent a week with that as well. Another amazing vehicle with the same great engine, a little bit more comfort, a little bit of a more updated interior slightly, and you know, that also is a great choice again for so much less money. But you know, the exclusivity here, the Fuji Speedway Edition, these special touches, the extra lightweight measures they went to, you know, the extra hardcore feeling of this certainly sets it apart and makes it feel very, you know, exciting and special. So anyway, I just feel very incredibly lucky and fortunate and thankful to Lexus for providing me here with this RCF Fuji Speedway Edition to review for you guys today. You know, one of 50 here. It's a very awesome, you know, honor to, you know, be able to drive one of these very rare vehicles. And so anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on the RCF Fuji Speedway Edition. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.